Welcome back to Sandfire Overland. In this video, we will share with you our fantastic journey across Morocco. Explore with us the amazing Sahara Desert, the rugged Atlas Mountains and bustling cities. Getting to Morocco from Germany was quite a travel in itself. We drove 3.5 days from Germany to the south of Spain, in between catching up with Claire and Adam at their wonderful restaurant and wine shop La Cave in Cadillac, and spending the night on their property near Bordeaux. And after a final night on a lake somewhere in the south of Spain, we were happy to see the towering cranes of Algeciras port. We are now here in Algeciras in the south of Spain, waiting for our ferry to Tangier Med, which will take about 1.5 hours to get over there. But the ferry is a bit delayed, and we are patiently waiting here to get onto it. Probably another 10-15 minutes. We are now on the ferry from Algeciras in the south of Spain to Tangier Med. The ferry will take about 1.5 hours to get there, and then of course there will be customs clearance, this kind of stuff to be done, and that means we will be there only when it's dark or after dark even, so we might need to find accommodation very close to the port or even stay in the port. We will find out later today. We made it to Tangier Med and went through the customs clearance and all of that, which took quite a long time, and the delay of the ferry came on top of it. So it was already very late and dark when we left the harbor, and we decided we don't want to drive anymore towards Chefchaouen, but stay in the area. And we found this nice little place on a beach, very close to the harbor actually, on the ocean, and in front of a police station, so we think it will be quite safe here, and we will spend the night here enjoying the sound of the ocean, having a beer, and then tomorrow morning drive through the Rif Mountains until Chefchaouen. In Chefchaouen we found this nice campground close to the Medina. Chefchaouen is called the Blue City. It is a lovely small town, and despite its attractiveness for tourists, it has preserved a charming character. There are different theories about the reason for the blue color. Some sources say it's a protection against the evil eye. But in reality, it seems that it was a creative idea of some locals in the 1990s to attract more tourists. Whatever the background, it has for sure resulted in a beautiful Medina. If you stroll around early in the morning or in the evening, it is still a relaxed atmosphere. We are now on our way to the Cirque du Jaffa, a four-wheel drive route in the Atlas, in the northern part of the Atlas, and currently on a kind of normal, more or less road, but soon we will reach the entry of the four-wheel track, which is in a nice gorge, and we will see how that goes. At the entry point to the Cirque du Jaffa, we could see the damage the heavy rains of the months before have caused. But in this case, it looked worse than it actually was, and we had no problem crossing the dry riverbed. We are here at a nice camp spot along the route to the Cirque du Jaffa. We started very late, and after half of the trip we decided, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, let's stop and have a camp here for the night. It's a really nice location, so we said, okay, let's use this one and not look for something else. The weather could be a bit better. It's quite cold and chilly up here, but I think we will manage through the night. The next morning we woke up to a beautiful sunny day and continued our journey through the Rif Mountains. After driving a while, we came to a situation where we definitely could not continue, but we found an alternative route. It was a bit tricky as it was steep downhill, and we had to then take a very sudden turn to the left, as otherwise we would have ended up in a deep gorge. But as usual, Birgit drove this tricky section marvelously. After hours of driving through beautiful mountains and wide open plains, we reached the nice town of Midelt. We did not stay there, but continued to a dam where we spent the night on a car park. Apart from us, nobody else was there. The following day, we drove for many hours through the Atlas Mountains. Our aim was to reach Lake Tislet, where we wanted to spend the night before continuing into the higher altitudes of the magnificent High Atlas. Little did we know what would happen. We camped here at 2,300 meters in the High Atlas at a semi-wild camping spot at a small lake. Yesterday it was quite cold but relatively clear, and during the night it started to snow, and when we got out this morning we had lots of snow here, and now we are packing up and we'll see that we can find a place where it doesn't snow. We will probably head towards the desert now rather than going more into the mountains. It would not make sense at all to go into the mountains. And then hopefully we find some warm, dry weather near Akçebi or wherever. During our drive to the east direction Sahara, we came across this brave group of Vespa drivers battling their way up and down the mountains in mud and snow. The drive was at times challenging and at many times just fun. However, at a certain point we had to stop. The rain had flooded the roads so badly that there was no way of continuing. We decided to stop and spend the night in a little simple auberge at the side of the road and sit out the bad weather. And guess what? The group of Vespa drivers later arrived at the same place as well. It was a great atmosphere at this crowded, basic place. The bad weather disappeared overnight, and the next morning was gorgeous. Blue sky and frost with some sugar coating on the surrounding mountains. So the Vespa group, and also Birgit and myself, started the next section of our trip. Initially there was still some water on the roads and tracks, but all very manageable. Amazing to see how quickly things change from good to bad or the other way around. We had a nice drive through the Tordra Gorge. And it was already getting dark when we reached Boudnip in the Sahara, where we found a wild camping spot near a dry riverbed. Good morning. We are here now in the east of Morocco, near Boudnip in the Sahara Desert. And very soon, in an hour or 1.5 hours, we will start the trek down south to Merzouga through the desert. It's about 180, 190 kilometer trek, and we hope that we will see some spectacular landscapes and enjoy the remoteness of the Sahara. For this trek, the trek from Boudnip to Akjebi, we have teamed up with Simon and Dani from Switzerland and their defender. We met at the auberge the day before and we had a great time. So we decided that it would be fantastic to share part of our journey. So now let's get rolling. After several hours of driving through a landscape that was not always that exciting, it was time for a quick lunch in the middle of nowhere, before continuing the journey. Navigation was not always easy. From the drone, it looks like the track is obvious, but if you are in the car, it is not. There are a lot of side tracks and parallel tracks from the military and from the local people. So we had to be very careful not to get lost. That evening, we were rewarded with an absolutely amazing wild camping spot. It was on the edge of a cliff and we had it totally to ourselves. These are the days and the moments for which we are building our off-road cars and undertaking these kind of trips. After a good sleep, we were back on the track again and on the way to the sand dunes of Akjebi. We stopped at a little rainwater hole and I started the drone. Unfortunately, I did not realize that the drone was too low and it crashed backwards into a mountain. Dani, Simon and I searched the area for 20 minutes until we found it lying on the back, blinking and beeping. Luckily, it had no damages and shortly afterwards it was back in the air. After the unnecessary excitement with the drone, we drove for several hours through deep sand, until the dunes of Erkçebi came into sight. But then we made a mistake. We followed a local guy on a shortcut through the dunes without properly assessing the situation. And this lack of preparation nearly ended in a disaster. We slipped off the dune and were in danger of a rollover. Luckily, with the help of Simon and the local guy, we managed to get the car out of the danger zone again. We had a fantastic trip driving through the Sahara from Budenip to Merzouga. 2 days off-road, not meeting any other cars. Was really exciting to feel the remoteness of the place. Beautiful landscape, changing landscape, some nice challenging off-road. Quite honestly, the challenge we had at the end, where we were not managing the dune, was a little bit more than we would have liked, but hey, at the end of the day, everything turned out fine and we are happy to continue, and we learned something about dune driving for sure. So we will stay here at Merzouga at this campground called Heaven La Chance for 2 nights, and then we will continue our trip towards the south. The campground is really nice, very friendly people, spacious place with a pool, good facilities. But it is a very touristy area here in Merzouga because of the dunes and because the dunes are so accessible for everybody. There are quite some groups also coming here with big white camper vans, and therefore it's not what we normally really enjoy. But today it's nice to hang out here. And then tomorrow we will continue our trip first to Nekop and then further south, visiting the road of the Kashbas and then going to Hamid, where we will then start another 3-day off-road trek through the Sahara, where we also think we will see some wonderful landscape and have some fun driving in the sand. Nekop is a nice little oasis in the Jebel Sahro area. It seems that not many tourists come here. When we strolled over the evening market, we did not see any other foreigner. We spent 2 days in a beautifully restored old Kashba, which is now serving as a hotel. In the palm grove, we could see the traditional water management system, which the desert communities developed centuries ago, to ensure that every family is getting their fair share of the water for their patches. From Nekop, we drove via the Dra Valley back into the Sahara, to Hamid. In Hamid we spent the night at a lovely little campground before plunging into the sand again.
Today we did a really fun drive. Well, I was driving most of the time, and we were driving through deep sand, crossing dunes. It was challenging, and it was a lot of fun. The navigation was tricky sometimes. We sometimes had a hard time to find the right track. But at the end of the day, we found the most beautiful camping spot in the middle of the dunes at Erg Chigaga.
It was a beautiful night. We had a campfire and enjoyed the starry sky over the Sahara. And we were happy as we had still 2 days ahead of us. And while the landscape during the day was not always exciting, our wild camping spot for the night was spectacular. We were completely on our own and happily enjoyed the isolation. After all the wonderful time in the desert and in the mountains, we had the desire to see the Atlantic Ocean. And we drove within 1 day to the village of Busnica, where we spent 3 days relaxing on the beach, before continuing to Rabat, the capital of Morocco. The Medina of Rabat is different to some of the other Medinas we have seen in Morocco. A lot looks freshly renovated, and many of the streets are wider than usual. We had a very leisurely day in Rabat, strolling around and finishing it with a beautiful dinner and tea, before, after dark, continuing our journey further north. We were now on our way back towards the Mediterranean Sea. The next step was Volubilis, with its old Roman ruins, which until today look very impressive. The location is wonderful, on top of a hill overlooking the rolling fields. Next day, we visited the busy Medina of Meknes, and from there on we drove back to Germany, in between taking a ferry from North Morocco to the south of France. It was an amazing trip, exceeding our expectations by far. Returning to this country 38 years after the first visit, it has of course changed a lot. On the other hand, it has not changed. The feeling in the Medinas, the small shops, the tanneries of faith, and of course the friendly people are still the same. Morocco offers spectacular landscapes, enormous cultural richness, beautiful architecture, and of course a warm-hearted welcome from the wonderful people. There's so much to discover. I'm sure we will be back.